Palumbo here with an RX Muscle news update. Former IFBB pro Mike Quinn, Mighty Mike Quinn, has passed. Mike was a guy who was on the circuit from the late 80s, early 90s through the 90s. One of the most popular bodybuilders out there, probably because he was the most outspoken. He had an extreme physique, and he didn't take any crap from anyone. And he always had something to say that was a headline. And I'm going to miss Mike. I knew him. I wouldn't call myself good friends with Mike, but I was friendly enough with Mike that I could, text or pick up the phone and talk to him. I've interviewed him several times on RX Muscle over the years. And he used to live with a good friend of mine, Fran Volpe, back in Westchester for a brief period of time in his young years when he was touted as going to be the next big thing in bodybuilding. He placed fifth at the Olympia one year, and the guy just had oodles of talent and tremendous potential. By his own admission, Mike, had some, mental illness that he was dealing with over the years, and he said that really held him back when I interviewed him from being his best, because he did self-destructive things and he couldn't focus, on bodybuilding the way he really needed to. But the guy was a genetic freak, and he was, he had probably some of the best arms and back in bodybuilding at the time. I mean, they were just incredible. I mean, when he was a teenager at 19, he looked incredible. And he got better from there and was, like I said, he was on his way up. I remember it was back in 1995. I did a show in the Bronx, and Mike was guest posing. It was the week before the 95 Night of Champions. And Mike and I were talking, after the show, and I saw him guest pose, and I was just like, Mike, this is the best you've ever looked. I said, you're big, you're ripped. I said, I don't know what you did, but this is a really good look for you. And he said, yeah. He goes, I never felt as good going into a contest prep. I was able to focus. I didn't go out. I didn't do anything I shouldn't have not been doing. And the following week, at the Night of Champions, he placed fifth in a really tough lineup. I mean, he looked, like I said, that was probably the best he looked. Even though he had placed fifth at the Olympia earlier in his career, this year was probably one of the most competitive in all of bodybuilding, and he really held his own. And the fans went crazy for him, of course, because he was a real rebel, and. He's probably one of the few bodybuilders that had gotten into fights at shows. I remember he told me a story that he was backstage at a European Grand Prix tour once, and I guess it was Phil Hill at the time was making fun of Bob Paris or something like that, and he didn't like that, and he said something to him, and Phil gave him kind of a wise-ass answer, and according to Mike, he knocked him out. He punched him backstage, and people had to jump in. Another time I heard that he was at a seminar with Samir Bannout, and he supposedly slapped Samir in the chest or something like that, because I don't even know what happened. I think Samir tried to edge him out in a pose down they were on stage on. So Mike was an extreme guy. He had a violent temper if he didn't like you, and he didn't take crap from anyone, and that's what he'll always be known as. He did things his way, and for good or for bad, he'll probably always be remembered as one of bodybuilding's bad boys. And he was very popular with the fans. He did a lot of guest posings because of that. And, promoters like to bring in bodybuilders that the fans like and that can relate to. And Mike would be the first guy to sit down in a seminar and honestly lay out his entire life for you. What's going on with his girlfriend, family, anything that was going on in his life. This guy was fully transparent before there was even social media or any kind of internet at that time. So he's going to be missed. He left us all too soon. I'm only sorry that Mike didn't get to, really fulfill his potential in bodybuilding, because I think he could have gone all the way, to the very top level and stayed there for a long period of time had he been, in a right space mentally. He was a good guy. He never said no to me. He was always very forthright. He always picked up the phone for me. So, Mike, we're going to miss you. I want to send my love and condolences out to his family during these hard times. If any funeral arrangements are being made and any information is being made, we will post this in the comments below, or say in the notes below, so people, if they want to attend the funeral, if it is public, can do so. I know Ed Connors, the former owner of Gold's Gym, Venice, and the whole franchise had reached out to me asking he was going to be in town for this weekend, and he was wondering if Mike's going to be having a funeral. We will let people know. For now, though, sad day in the bodybuilding world. I also heard actually Dave, the owner of Quad's Gym, passed as well today. So we'll send our condolences and love out to his family as well. Dave Palumbo with an RX Muscle news update.